Uh, Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Two Broken Thumbs, the podcast that went on a bit of a longer hiatus than I was expecting.
Yeah.
I'm, yeah, I apologize for that. I have recently moved out. I was getting used to the whole situation. Now that I have, I'm comfortable with recording this podcast again. So, welcome back. I am your host, the least, Cole.
And I'm your host with the most, James.
Welcome back, James. It's good to have you. Good to have you back, James.
Always a pleasure.
I was thinking about replacing you, but it just felt in poor taste.
Well, once you've been a guest on the podcast 7 or 8 times, it really just becomes hard to part,
Become attached to the character, right?
That's right. It's like that little stigma you get when prisoners start to appreciate the presence of their captors.
Yeah.
There's a word for it, but I don't remember.
Same here. I know there was a lady back in like the 80s or 70s who was kidnapped and then closet for 30 days and then came out. She was like, "Oh shit, I'm behind this movement now."
I like the closet now.
No, well, yeah, it was very strange. It was a very strange.
Do you think it was an allegory for being gay?
Probably. If I'm gonna be honest with you, she does become lesbian, so it could be it. That could be it.
Well, there you go. She left both her physical and her mental closets.
That's what happened to me.
No, you were never trapped in a closet.
No, I just watched a lot of Thomas the Tank Engine.
And we already knew you were gay.
Yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying I was gay because I watched Thomas the Tank Engine.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, one could have come to that conclusion. Did I watch it?
Yeah. Did you watch the movie?
I feel like there's more than one movie.
Well, there was like an old movie from like the 90s on a VHS tape. And like at one point, he gets like a magic coal dust that's like made of rainbows. And like he goes even faster. And I'm like, in my brain, I'm like, whoa, he's doing a drug. Like, even as a kid, I was like, this doesn't seem right.
This is clearly drug abuse.
I mean, literally, he was going faster. The smoke was now rainbow effects, and like the little kid inside the tank with the engine was just like, wow, it's magical.
So magic.
I don't remember the exact words, but it was shit like that. But you know what? I will say it was better written than a movie we're going to talk about today, James.
Oh, my goodness.
Ooh,
so before we start, I want to be known that we opened up this conversation by saying, oh, we might disagree on something finally. And then we watched the movie together. And this guy does not stand up for his arguments or his points at all. Like, he just bent over and accepted everything I said.
I still think it's good.
No, you don't.
I still think it's good.
Nah.
Yes, I do.
Nah.
I think it's
everything I said, you were just like, yeah, you're right. Bad. This guy, no backbone at all. I could tell him the sky is red, and he'd be like, yeah, it is that.
Wait,
so I just want to make sure the audience knows what kind of integrity we're working with here.
No, I have some good things about this movie that I enjoyed. There is one thing that we heavily disagree on that I think makes the film better, but we'll get to it.
All right. Well then.
So, with that being said, James, would you like to explain what the movie is and
who the
director is?
Movie came out, I want to say 2018, but it may have been 2019. This is something I should have the. No.
Probably should have the Wikipedia open.
There's no way. I could open the Wikipedia, but I'm not going to.
Okay.
Yet, because I'm occupied. But this is a movie by
2019.
2019. There you go. Famous director, Ryan Johnson. It is a take on the whodunit genre. It is called Knives Out.
Yes, we're talking about Knives Out. It has famous actors.
Oh yeah, lots of famous actors.
Daniel Craig.
Like Chris Daniel Evans, Craig and Chris Evans. Jamie Lee Curtis. Those are the three I was going to name.
Oh. And the girl from 13 Reasons Why.
That's right, Hannah Baker. We will probably be referring to her as Hannah Baker.
Yeah, she doesn't actually have a character name. Her name is literally just Hannah.
Yeah, it is. It's Meg.
Nope.
Yes.
You're crazy.
All right, Hannah Baker it is. She also played a older version of Tony Stark's daughter in a deleted scene from Endgame.
Really?
Oh yeah, did you not see that? It's like
No, I did not.
it was similar to Thanos' dream sequence after he snapped, and baby Morgana was there, or Morgana,
Yeah.
Gamora was there.
Yeah, Baby Gamora. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was like an adult Morgan to try to say, oh you did good. We're gonna be good. Thanks, Dad. Love
Oh,
you.
okay.
It was a nice
Makes
scene. I think they took it out
sense.
because they didn't want the ending to feel too long, and also they felt like that it would be awkward to have that and then immediately afterwards have him deliver his own eulogy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree.
So fair
And
enough.
also, people would assume that because that girl grows up to be Hannah Baker, that it all was for that she kills herself.
Sure.
Could be that too. One of those two options. I
It's
like
quite
my theory better though.
your wrong
But
theory
anyways,
is okay with me.
yeah. But no, James has a little bit of a history with Ryan Johnson. I feel like before we talk about the movie, we should talk about his writing style. Is how he makes
So
movies.
his writing style is bad.
All right, next topic.
He
Well, there's a little more to it than just that it's bad. He's not very good with I want to say world building per
writing.
se. Well, I would say he does comedy pretty okay.
He does comedy okay.
Yeah. But I
I'll,
think like that's like the only thing I can really point out and be like, yeah, I get it.
he very much seems to value the emotional impact of something over the chain of events that leads to getting to that space.
Yeah.
If that kind of
He
makes
wants
sense.
he wants the impact but doesn't want to build it up.
Right. Very much fails
Yeah.
to build it up in most situations.
Which is a problem that I definitely have with
He
films.
he'll
I
probably
don't have sorry,
he'll probably work really well for you if you're willing to assist him in writing the story. As in, you see a very basic character and you are willing to go ahead and assume character traits for them.
yeah.
I am not.
And well, that's not what we do here. We don't. Basically, what James is saying, if you turn your brain off, you can enjoy it.
If you want to look at a character and be like, oh, based only on the one thing that they've said so far, I'm willing to assume A, B, C, and D about them.
That kid's a Nazi, which means that I should hate him.
That's right.
Which,
He's
yes, but like that's not what we're trying to get at.
he's only a Nazi because someone
We
said
get
he
told he's a
was.
Nazi, and like he's on his phone all the time. We don't really get what is that character's name? Um,
Nazi.
Jacob Thornby, which I think is acted by the same guy who was in It. I could be wrong.
Oh, I'm not sure. I haven't seen
He
that
was
movie.
in yes, he's in It and It Chapter 2. Yeah,
Oh, is he a Nazi
he's
in
very
those?
good in those movies. He is. Yeah, no, absolutely. No,
Oh, okay. Well,
it's very weird. A very weird character development to have our main character be a Nazi, but it worked out in the end.
well,
Works with Jojo Rabbit.
Yeah. Same character?
No, no,
Oops.
different character. Yeah, but he's a good actor. He's very good.
Ah. Oh, bummer.
But
Wish he
he
got
didn't
used
really get
more.
the. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. You really didn't get a chance to shine in this. It's
Yeah.
a shame.
That's okay,
I'm
though.
just supposed to watch It.
Honestly, I'd say there's probably too many characters in this movie already.
I would agree. So one of the well, we should probably talk about like how film progresses, and we could talk about the characters in the character introduction scene.
Sure. You
So
just
let's
want
get
to just work our way through it?
yeah, let's do it.
Oh, well, before we start, I feel like I say this every time. Very high budget movie. So, not very
Mhm.
high, but pretty high budget. It looks very
Yeah.
good, the movie.
Well,
And
yeah, obviously.
the acting is very good too.
I would not say it's not shot very well, but I'll get to that later on. But it's shot decent enough.
I'd yeah, I'd be willing to agree with
There are
that. I
there are a
might
few shots that I think are pretty good, but a lot of the movie's pretty flat.
I don't think there's anything overly complex that is getting shot.
Yeah, there's not like there's no need to do anything complicated because there isn't really much that is complicated with the movie, so you don't need
Right.
to like.
This isn't like
But at
an
the same time,
action movie or anything. This is a lot of characters
yeah,
walking around and talking to each other. Are these
character interaction. But even then, in the character interaction movie, you can have camera shots suggest something. So
right?
cameras at like a Dutch tilt, and you Die Hard, the scene where the villains.
The Christmas
Oh,
movie?
Gruber. Yeah, yeah. Hans Gruber. And holy shit, I'm really bad at names. My God.
John McClane?
Yes, Hans Gruber and John McClane are talking with each other, and like Hans Gruber is actively tricking John McClane. And
Oh.
during this shot, we see the cameras at a Dutch tilt for both characters, so we both know they're tricking each other. Like that's the sort of things you could show in like a character moment to help you understand more about the characters and their interactions.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I'm not saying all movies should do that, but I'm definitely saying this movie doesn't do that a lot.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, but let's jump into the movie. A man is found dead. He writes books about people being murdered, and he is found dead.
Yep, he's got his big ol' mansion of a house. There's like a
It's like a clue board.
Yeah, very much. There's like all kinds of like old relics and stuff just around. Yeah.
Eccentric.
This guy's very much enjoys his stuff. He's got a nice little collection, very much wealthy. And it's the whole first scene's kind of centered around the girl Fran his like a maid or a housekeeper walking around.
Maid. And kind of like going, yeah, it's her at her house with her family. And I did say one of the things I did like the way the movie opens with the sister. So the movie opens with the sister listening to a murder podcast movie thing, and we see the mom's trying to tell her to turn it off. Because we obviously know that there was a murder, but we can see that she isn't feeling too. I mean, obviously you shouldn't feel too good about a murder, but the way that the family just interacts is pretty good. The chemistry between them all is pretty solid. I wish we got to see them more.
Yeah, fair enough.
But it does build a sort of bond between these three characters.
Right.
And I also wished, so normally in a whodunit, when you have a whodunit, every single thing you show on screen or have in the background should lead to a clue. Like we should be able to piece it all together ourselves.
Right.
And one of the interesting things you could have done is have the radio that was playing the whodunit. You could have had that radio give a clue or like give like a possible direction of where the story is going to go. Because that's like the sort of thing you like in a movie where you see something's going to happen and then you go back and go, oh shit, it was foreshadowed at the start.
Right.
But they didn't really do that. It was just like some random murder clip that I can't remember completely, but I don't think it actually refers back to who done it and then who did it again.
I don't think so, but I'd have to
go back and
go check,
play it, yeah,
to know for sure.
And not talk every 15 minutes,
right?
5 minutes.
Well, I watched the movie twice in preparation, and then my host here decided that we needed to watch it together. So I was happy about that, getting to watch this movie for a third time.
I definitely didn't have to tell him repeatedly that we needed to watch it. He kept saying,
do you realize that because of you, I've watched Knives Out more than The Prestige? Do you know how frustrating that is? You haven't seen we should talk about that next.
Sounds good.
That'll be a praise.
What? We should do it too. That was another good movie. Yeah, we could get to that. We talked about the movie, but anyway. So yeah, it's written as suicide, and so all the family's there to go to. And there's this thing that's brought up one more time, where the fucking Spanish girl, but
Marta.
She goes, and they say, we wanted you to come, but you were outvoted. And then they say it again later, but it's like supposed to be like, oh, some of the family doesn't think you deserve to go, so let you.
Right, there's like a funeral service.
Yeah.
And
it's supposed to make us think, oh, wow, these characters are pieces of shit.
Right.
But
Well, it's
we'll
kind of
get to
funny
that.
because a few characters say at different times throughout the movie, I voted for you, but was I voted? So it's,
Yeah, it's hard to tell who really voted for her.
yeah. Which I think is what he was
It's
going
not.
for.
Yeah, which is nice. It's so that these characters really don't care for her, but they're pretending because she was so close to
Er, Ryan Johnson
their
kind
death.
of does a funny thing where he's subtle at times, but then at
Hmm.
other times he's just like super blatant and right on the nose. It's kind of hard to tell.
Yeah,
It's
there's a
just
scene
it's
later on we
weird,
can talk about
right?
that. But Daniel Craig, I think it is. Is that correct? Daniel Craig. Yes,
Yeah,
Daniel Craig gets called in, and everyone starts having to. They start having the characters be introduced, so we could see who each character is. And we're under the assumption that it was a suicide, but Daniel Craig was sent there to find out if there's a real murder.
right,
Um, and so as we were meeting all these characters, there are times where they will have flashbacks to the night as they're explaining what's happened. Now, every time we get introduced to a new character, the story changes slightly. Different people are in different positions. Different people are acting differently. We could tell that the family's not telling the full truth.
right.
And as this is happening, we'll sometimes get other characters we haven't fully met yet cut into other families' introductions. And it's very jarring to say the least. At least that's how I felt about it. Like there's a good example where they're talking about the Nazi kid, and the one of the person who's up there says, "No, my boy doesn't do anything too super terrible." And then Hannah Baker comes in and says, "That kid's a Nazi," and I'm just like, "Okay, cool, but who are you?" I think only like four characters out of like the entire cast gets this type of introduction. Correct?
Um, yeah, just Jamie Lee Curtis, her husband, and
The guy
Walt,
who runs the bookstore or runs the company,
right, the publishing, and
and then Goop Lady.
the what?
That would be the lady who sells like the fake
Oh
like
yeah, the
spiritual. Yeah,
right.
I call her Goop Lady because she doesn't look like Gwyneth Paltrow.
Fair enough.
That's kind
Candle
of I thought
lady,
was the joke. I thought that was the joke, and I was like, oh, I get it.
maybe.
But no, so like all these people are connected to the father because they're either related or he provides them money so they can pursue their
But
careers.
they're all related.
Yeah, they're all related to an extent.
Right, like
The Goop
the
Lady isn't quite.
farthest one would just be the stepdaughter who like married
Mhm.
his youngest son or one of his sons, and then he died however many 15 years ago or something.
Yeah, so it's something like that. But like that's really the only one that's like really um out of like not directly related.
Right. That's never really brought
But the
up
other,
again. So
yeah,
I'd say
she's just kind of there. Yeah.
yeah.
But every time that they say something, at one point or another, Daniel Craig will just play a piano key, and for the life of me, I couldn't figure out what the point of the were. Like when you first watch it, you assume, oh, he knows that they told a lie, or this is supposed to be important to the overall structure of the story. But it doesn't really do that. It more just unnerves them, which also works, but it just is confusing.
Yeah, I agree. I at first I kind of thought it was because they're recording everything that's being said
Yeah,
on a cell phone. So I kind of assumed that one play of a really high pitched sharp note is gonna leave a mark in the recording. So that
yeah.
would be like a good way to go back and check your notes. It'd be like a little bookmark. But then after that only happens for the first one. After that, he just plays it when nothing really relevant has been said.
Or if he's just trying to get them to stop talking, I guess, about a certain thing.
Maybe. Yeah, I
But even then,
my best guess would
the
just be
thing
that it
doesn't
was
come
to be
back.
unnerving.
Yeah, it doesn't come back though. If even if you were suggesting it was used for marketing, you never get to hear the thing ever again. Like it just never comes back.
Right.
So like if they brought back the recording so we could listen back to it and we hear the piano ding, we're like, oh, he knew, and so now we know as well as the audience. It never does come. Well, sorry, it does come back, but for the finale in a very stupid way.
Yeah, and this he Daniel Craig very much doesn't know why he's there for the
Yeah.
entirety of the movie except for the ending. And he
Yep.
it's kind of
Well,
frustrating to
he
watch.
does. He does, but we don't know.
No, he knows why. He knows what
No, no,
happened to get him to go there, but
yeah.
he doesn't know why he needs to be there.
Why he was summoned there. Yeah.
Yeah, which
Which
is
is another
which
part
is
of the
why
mystery.
it's frustrating because you don't because if you normally in these whodunits, like you watch like a Murder on Orient Express or something, our detective is like very much picking up on things that we are not picking up on, and in this
Hmm.
movie, there's not a lot of that at all.
Or like a
Like
great
he
example
doesn't
for
he
like how
doesn't seem like a world famous private detective. He seems like a mediocre at best detective.
yeah, yeah. I was gonna say one of the best examples to show how you should write a detective, which is going to be pretty obvious, but Sherlock Holmes. One of the earliest mysteries was where a man wrote down, or someone wrote the words Rachel or Rach, Reche, on a wall, and all of the police got from it was someone was trying to write the word Rachel. It wasn't correct. However, the thing is that he discovered how tall the person was based off how high they wrote the name. We discovered like what type of how far away the letters were depend showed us how much the person could move. We got to learn about the size of their feet. That sort of, like the things that we would normally never pick up on.
Right.
That's the sort of things that we as an audience could have learned, but we didn't realize that we could have learned this information. And there really isn't much of that in this, which is a shame.
Yeah.
But as the scene goes on, Daniel Craig is finally approached by one of the characters saying, "Who are you?" And we get to hear his voice. James, I'm going to let you have this.
All right. So Daniel Craig, if you don't know, is James Bond in however out of the 30 some Bond films, he's in it for a bunch of them, the newer ones, and he has a quite
Yeah,
excellent English accent to him. So for some reason, we decided to subvert our typical
expectations.
Sherlock uh, detective trope that we need to make this guy not English. So he is very much Southern accent.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit
Full on
jarring.
Southern drawl.
Yes, and
Something
it's
very deep.
frustrating because every time he speaks, I need to readjust my head to try to get around this idea.
James isn't a fan of it, but I definitely do like it. I like it when actors can voice differently. It's very nice. In my opinion, at least, I definitely like when an actor doesn't just hire to play them. Like you hire them because people know their voice. Like Onward, people only really was like, oh hey, it's the Spider-Man kid, but he's playing this character. Wow, that's his voice. Stuff like that. I don't much care for that, so I definitely like Daniel Craig going in a different accent or a different direction with his voice. Now, I don't know if it was Daniel Craig's decision. I don't know if it was the director's decision.
I'm
I
sure
just know that I do like it.
I'm sure it was
I
the
definitely,
director.
yeah, it would make sense, especially with how he was written. But I personally do really enjoy it.
Nah.
But it is jarring. I would agree it's jarring, but once you get used to it, you're like, okay, he's he's acting. I get it.
It's kind of like in Bob's Burgers, where every time a character speaks, I think, oh, it's not what I expect them to sound like at all.
Well, that's understandable at times. Like Jimmy Jr. does sound a little weird. He sounds a lot like Bob, but like with a lisp.
How about Linda?
Linda is voiced by a dude.
I know. They all are.
Actually, most of the cast is voiced. Well, most of
Yeah.
them are, yeah. But I picture Linda's voice being like Linda. I don't know how you would voice Linda, but I'm also a super fan of the show. So
Ah. I think it's
I have a bit
funny,
of a
but
bias.
God, is it hard to watch?
I can understand. The thing that I like about it isn't just like, oh, we're gonna put the comedy before the story. The
Right.
story is made to be comedic.
Yeah, no, I agree.
The only one that's like really out there is the World Wharf series, and even then, I fucking love the World Wharf series. It's part one and part two of one of the season finales. Like Bob sells the wharf, or is about to, and then doesn't, and then he gets tied up and almost killed.
Uh-huh.
It's really good,
Huh.
really good. But anyways, back to this.
Anyway,
Yeah, no, I
back
like
to a
Daniel
bad
Craig's
movie.
voice. I do. Yeah, back to bad movie. Daniel
Right.
Craig's voice is good. And then we get a cut. I don't remember why we get this cut, but then we get like a cut of the night before the murder. Oh no, that's because Daniel Craig has finished talking with all the people. Now he's sitting down with the police officers who are complete idiots. Um,
Oh yeah,
and
the police
he's
officer's
telling
like
everyone,
useless through the whole movie.
yeah. Except for one of them who like makes references to the books that he wrote, which I like. But like even then,
Still useless.
um,
Useless as a
but
police
then
officer.
yes, that is correct.
Yeah.
But we then get to meet we get to meet Marta in more detail, and we learn that she is such a nice person that the thought of lying makes her throw up. And I
Right.
thought when I first saw this movie, I was like, oh, that's going to be cool. I can't wait to see this implemented really well. Because if she doesn't really know the family that well, but she knows things about the father super well. Oh, sorry, I almost just threw up. But she knows
Is
things
it because
about
you're
the family.
lying?
Oh shit.
Oh
Oh
my
god. Oh
gosh.
fuck. No, if she knows things about the father super well, but not about the family, we can learn about the family through Marta by learning it through the father, which I thought would be a really cool way of talking about the character. You know, that would have been a cool thing. Um, would have been is the key word there.
Yeah, so I think for the most part, they don't they don't frame it as like her being such a good person that she will vomit if she tells a lie. It's like it's framed as a condition of some
Yeah,
type.
she will not. She will barf, but she can like hold it in
Well, that's sort of the
until later.
weird thing.
Yeah.
The
Have you ever tried to hold in a barf?
well, yeah.
Yeah, it's not pleasant, and you can't do it for long periods of time.
Well, my point is that it seems to be more of like more to do with her anatomy than like
Oh, you think it's like physical thing, not just like an emotional thing?
yeah.
Makes sense.
The
Like it's not
just
because she's a good person. It was just
well,
because she
I think
wanted to
that's
be
what
like
they're
that.
like hinting at, like in the meta.
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
director wants us to think like, oh, because she is a really good person, and I think that's to kind of help it. But
Mm-hmm.
they, they're not going to go out of
Well, if
their way to
if
say
you can't
that this
lie,
is
then you
because
might as well
she's
be
a
a good
great
person.
person.
I mean, if you can't lie, then why be a mean person? I mean, what's the point then?
Yeah, fair enough.
Unless you just want to be truthful to everyone, just hurt everyone's feelings.
Yeah. I wonder how that goes.
Yeah.
There's never really a point in the movie
I would
where
love to see her just interact with
one
normal
of the
people and like.
family members is like, "Do you think I'm a good person?" And she's like,
Yes. Hand me a doggy bag.
and then just runs.
End of the conversation. I would love to see that. She's just like one of just like, do you think my marketing employee or my channels will sell very well? Uh, maybe.
Mm,
She just says maybe. That's all she's got to do. She's not lying.
oh, maybe.
Just always say maybe.
Well, if you're for sure something isn't going to sell well.
Well, that is true, but there are crazy people out there, so it could be. It would be a very interesting.
Well, that's the thing. I guess that would
situation.
be an easier thing to answer.
Yeah.
But if you were like, if someone asked, "Am I a good person?" You said maybe. Might be a swing and a
Yeah.
miss there.
Good point. It's unfortunate that it's not very user well, but we do get to see because of this. We get to see Mara's interaction with the family members,
Marta.
and we get to Brian Johnson being as subtle as a sledgehammer.
Always.
By having all of the family just be super racist towards not racist towards her, but like going or talking about illegal immigration and how much they hate it. And that's a problem because Maria's mother is an illegal immigrant.
Okay, you
But
pronounce
they
her
think
name differently every time.
good, as God intended.
Marta.
Marta, sorry. I
Marta.
thought I said martyr or martyr, like
Here you go. I'll put it in Discord for you.
I have
Podcast
it right here
corner.
on screen. I have it
Oh,
on screen.
my bad. I thought you could read, idiot.
Maybe that's why I like the movie.
Because you can't read? Fair enough.
um, but like they're asking her, they're like, "Oh man, you came in through the legal system, the legal ways, and that's how they all should come." That me and James are great. We're like, "Yeah, that's how it should be." And then another one's just like, "But they're being put in cages and they're taking our jobs and never, never, never." And I'm like, "Oh, we're supposed to hate these characters. They're not."
Well, it's weird because
Yeah.
it's
Oh, you
like
take this one, James.
it's just
Being
very.
the right wing
This is like
piece of shit
something
you
you
are.
you see on Twitter from if there's like a whole conversation going on where it's like someone says something that's like pretty reasonable, but then someone else will like
Mhm.
try to help them by being totally unreasonable, and then you're like, no, stop.
Yeah, like someone's just like, I think we should have guns as long as we get them legally, and then someone else is like, yeah, we should all have the ability to get AK-47s. You're like,
Right. If you found that unreasonable.
yeah, I'm not saying that's unreasonable. I was just thinking about. I should have said grenade launcher. That would have been way more unreasonable.
Right, or tank or something.
Yeah, we should all have the right to a tank.
But that's what's kind of interesting about this is Ryan Johnson will very much project his politics into his movies.
Mhm.
And while watching this movie, I noticed right away that Ryan Johnson very much has a style to his writing. And you can watch this movie and The Last Jedi back to back, and you'll see them all right away.
Mhm.
But so in regards to the whole conversation about the illegal immigration, because we have a character who's talking, and he's he says something reasonable. He's like, illegal immigration probably not a good thing. If people want to come over, there's a correct way to do it. But then later he's like, and I'm just gonna say it, America is for Americans. And it's like, okay, relax, chill, come on now. Like,
Well,
surely
I think
there's
that
somewhere in the middle.
implies. I think what that implies is that if you came over illegally, then you become a true American by doing the application, applying for citizenship, and then you're a true American. But the
Maybe
way it was written and the way it was framed in the discussion, I would agree. It makes it sound like he's saying America's only for white people. I would agree. It does a bit weird.
right, and that's what's kind of frustrating about it because it doesn't feel like someone wrote that who was interested in that viewpoint. It feels like someone was straw manning, trying to say something that sounds reasonable, and then letting their racism shine through in the end.
Yeah.
Which I don't really think is fair. And the example I gave while we were watching is I have a friend named John who is a immigrant from Denmark, and he went through the whole process. It was not a quick process, and it was a bit expensive too. But
Yeah.
he really liked America. He really likes how our politics work. So
For
he
some reason.
took the time and did what he had to do, and now he's over here legally, and he's got his nice house and his wife and his kids, and all is well. But
Yeah.
I mean,
Now it's not as easy. It's not that easy for everyone, but it is
well, I
the
wouldn't describe it
proper
as an easy
channels.
process, but
No,
you know,
they're not. Yeah.
I dare say America's pretty good. So if you want to be here,
Ooh. Ooh.
no, I'm willing to say it. I'll say it out loud.
No. No.
Country pretty good.
I've watched. Yeah, our country's as much as we're going to get a little political here, but like patriotically political. So people like to act like America is the worst place to live right now, and I would argue absolutely not. There are worse places in the world. There are absolutely worse places in the world, and the fact that you have the freedom to say that this is the worst place proves how free you are.
Right.
That's where I'm staying on this because there are countries out there where if you talk bad about it, you could die. You could be taken to a prison
You
and you could be
will
tortured to
die.
death.
And taken to a prison is like a good way to go. But like, I'm not here to preach. That there's definitely
No.
we could definitely improve
But
things, but
yeah. But I'm
just
saying
it's good to keep in
kind of
mind in Saudi Arabia, women just recently got the right to drive places if their husbands are
and
okay with it.
they recently finally reopened movie theaters to the
Right.
emoji,
People
which
still get stoned for being gay. Like
yeah.
these are real
Well,
things that
I
happen.
also get stoned for being gay, but for different reasons.
God
Talking about
said,
drugs.
if a man thy lay with another man, he shalt be stoned. So we need to legalize gay marriage and marijuana, is what that means.
Read the Bible. It's in the Bible.
That's right.
But no,
You claim
back
you're a
on
Christian, Trump. Prove it.
Back on topic.
But
Back on topic.
back on topic. So
Yeah, the problem is every one of this. There's too many characters, and they aren't fleshed out enough to make us all hate them.
we they're trying to
give
put a
reasons.
political theme or a political message into their movie, but it's not really explored with any nuance. It's just explored by giving somebody a position that I would agree is bad and then making them look like an idiot for the rest of the movie.
I feel
It's
like one of the
pretty
only characters
weak.
that I actually really cared about for a short time in the movie was Jamie Lee Curtis's character.
Yeah.
And that's because of the one plot point she had. She made mention that if you want to talk with our father, you have to have a game with him or something. Like for example, Jamie Lee Curtis has a thing with like a letters, and they write letters to each other, and like they have like invisible ink that can only be revealed when you use a lighter. Or for example, Chris Evans and him always play, or no, Marta and him always play that board game. Do you remember what it's called, James?
No, I do not.
It's a board game they play, but it looks fun. But like they play games together. They said that with being in the family, you have to have creative ways to keep in contact with your father. Not a lot of the other family members really get that, besides one other, but we haven't gotten to him yet. But Jamie Lee Curtis's is very interesting because her husband is cheating on her, and he tells the father says, "I'm going to tell her. I haven't written this letter." And later on, we see that the letter doesn't say anything. But that's one of the only characters that really gets fleshed out. Her and her husband. The other ones definitely just kind of are there. Like they have a motive, but even some of them don't really have a motive. Like who's the Goop lady? Who played her? Is it Tony? Her name was Joni Thornberry, right?
Yeah, that was Jenny.
Yeah.
I think.
Joni doesn't really have a reason to kill him as we know in the movie. And we don't really see Walt Thornby is the guy who owns the books, right?
Yeah, Walt is the in charge of the publishing.
And we learn, but not the characters, that Walt and his father had an argument. So we learn about him maybe having a motive, but our detective doesn't know about this, which is a big oversight. But all that doesn't matter because 20 minutes into this movie, we figure out who did it.
Right, and that's part of kind of the subversion idea is we're not going to wonder the whole movie who has done the bad. We are going to know who did the bad. We're going to know it's a good person that we like, and we're going to watch them try to navigate.
But why do we like her?
Oh, because she's a good person.
Yeah, but James, why?
Yeah.
How do we know she's a good person?
Oh,
before we the murder, how do we know she's a good person?
She does good things.
Tell me one good thing she did at the start of the movie.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm waiting. Oh, do you know what, James? She has a family.
She does have a family.
She has a mom and a daughter. Hold on, James. James, you have a family.
I do.
And you're a good person.
I don't vomit when I lie, though.
But that just means that she's more pure of heart than you, James. That means, James, you know what that means?
What does that mean?
She's a good person.
She is a good person. She's also a person of color.
Well, that's not important. I don't talk about that.
Yeah, 3 points.
I mean, she also is the only person of color in this. No, wait, there's one black guy, but that's...
Oh, yeah, the police officer.
Yeah.
Who's bad at his job. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow,
But
Ryan.
what I'm trying to
Wow.
get what I'm trying to get at is that the who done it is ruined, and we learn she puts a drug in him that wasn't the correct drug. She puts what type of drug was it, James?
Morphine. Too
She
much of
puts
it.
morphine, too much morphine in him, and he writes down in his book like, "Oh, this is a great way to kill someone. As long as you have the cure, though, I'm fine, right?" And then she goes, "I don't have the cure. I can't find it." And then we're like, "Oh, okay, so she killed her, cool, him." And then he has this like elaborate plan to make her not a suspect, which I will say makes sense for the character we've been told about. He is a he's actively finding new ways to kill, and he's helping her cover up the crime.
Right.
Which it makes sense. I could see his character being able to do that.
Yeah.
If it was like Jamie Lee Curtis' character, I'd be like, okay, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. But the way he covers it up makes sense. It's unfortunately because she isn't fully listening, or not fully listening, but doesn't fully remember how to do it, is what keeps the story going. But having the detective walk through the crime scene and having her hide the evidence along, which is a good portion of the movie now.
Yeah.
So as the movie goes on, it's basically just having her hide the evidence. And there's one shot early on. Is there anything you want to talk about before we get into them discovering evidence, or is there anything that I missed?
Let me look at my notes real quick. I actually wrote down notes for this one.
Ooh.
Yeah, let's see.
I did write down about how there's a grandma character. She plays like a small role, but she made some Francis Yu again.
Oh, she actually has kind of a big impact on the ending.
Yeah, on the ending, but throughout the movie,
Yeah.
she has one line where
There's a
like,
few others too, like Walt has a wife, but she doesn't really do anything.
mhm.
So let me see. So the whole issue with her unintentionally drugging
Mhm.
Harlem, which is the dad, the murdered the
I'm gonna
victim.
sound really dumb. Is the dad also the guy who plays Professor Xavier? Because I
Uh,
could be wrong. I just thought like they looked so similar. I could be wrong. I could totally be wrong. Like, no, he's not.
no.
Interesting. He just looks a lot like him, I guess.
Oh, he
Okay.
was in Sound of Music.
Oh, he was. He's also an Up. Oh, he's probably the old man. Oh, and National Treasure. Hmm. Very weird movies he's been in.
No Man's Land.
Sorry, anyways, you were talking, James, about the old man.
Right. So she our character Marta, she's to be giving him medicine and some morphine for like pain relief. And she's not paying attention while she's doing this, and only after she injects him with morphine, she realizes that she's actually given him the incorrect or she's given him the drugs in the incorrect order, so she accidentally gave a very small amount of medicine and a huge amount of morphine. And she's like all confused because she didn't look at the labels, and like that's why we're supposed to believe that she screwed up here. And then they run through the whole plan, and she makes sure to explain that after 5 minutes he'll start showing symptoms, and after 10 he's dead. So right away he starts, he writes down the idea on how to kill somebody in his notebook, and then he's explaining an idea, a whole plot for how she can get out, and then how she'll come back and disguise herself as him so that it looks like there's no way that she could have been there when he died. Good plan. But what ends up
Yeah,
happening
playing
is,
solid.
it's a good plan. Like realistically speaking, if it all got executed correctly, it'd be good. But
Yeah.
on her way out, she like turns around and says that she can't do it, and then he like cuts his own throat, and some blood gets splashed, like just a droplet of blood gets on her shoe. So that'll be a nice
Also, the
plot
scene,
point.
I'm going to send it to you. I'm going to send it to you, Pat, but the scene where it shows the knife cutting his neck really badly.
Yeah, not a
Like, you can see
not a good edit, or not a good
not a very good
take.
edit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and not edited at
But
all.
that's nitpicky. Like,
Right. Well, whatever. But so she screws up on her way out.
mhm.
She's supposed to, because there's like a sign or a light.
A video camera, yeah.
Well, there's a video camera recording, and
Yeah.
she's got to like turn after this landmark into the forest to avoid getting spotted by the camera. But she instead turns before it, so the camera sees her. And then she like sneaks over to the house from the backwoods. She climbs up the side. She like breaks whatever she was climbing on her way up. Gets through the window. Does what she's supposed to. She like puts on his robe, puts the hood up, walks downstairs. His son is still outside smoking a cigarette. And his son is like, "Dad, go back to bed." And so she turns around and goes back. And in my head, I'm thinking, God, if I was actually that guy, I'd be like, "It's my house. I'm doing what I want." But, well, I'm just saying. If I want a
I'm
midnight
gonna throw
snack,
you
I'm
in
getting
there.
me a
You
snack.
fuck off.
Yeah.
Even
Child.
as Marta the character, she just like gets into character even more. She's like,
Right.
"Wait, I'm I'm the old man. I'm gonna
Right.
get myself a snack."
She's like, "You listen here, I'll do what I want." Walt's like, "What the fuck? That didn't sound right." Anyway, but and then she escapes, and all is well, except
You think so? At least.
right. But then, of course,
But there's
our Daniel Craig shows up, our detective.
mhm.
So the police officers are basically useless. Like
Yeah.
when the body is discovered, we understand that they set up a crime scene as they always do.
Yeah, and the bed's gone,
They take him. Yeah, they take the couch he was laying on.
which
But
always was weird to me. But whatever.
I guess
I don't get
don't.
it, but I kind of get it, but also it just seems very out of place. Like out of all the things you take the couch. I get it, he died on it, but like now
That's the
you're
thing. They don't take the
moving it
medicine
from
bag.
location. Well, don't take medicine, but like think about it. When you move something that someone died on, and you're using it, you have to. It might be a clue to a murder. If you don't move it properly, you're gonna get more gunk and stuff on the couch, and it could throw off the like dissection of the couch.
Right. That's true.
It just seems like a weird thing to
but
move.
They always take pictures, and well, from my
Mhm.
understanding, you take pictures of everything. You mark
Oh,
where
actually, I
stuff
took a class
is,
on this.
and then well, there you go then. But
I
they
took
take
this.
stuff.
When you
Like if there's
well,
like a
not only
cell
so
phone or a weapon, they'll take it. They'll like
what they'll
glove
do
bag it.
is well, can I explain
Yes.
this one, James? Okay, so what they normally would do is, well, first thing they do is they check the scene, they close the scene off to anyone. Well, that should be obvious, but what they then do is, if there's anything that in reports that people have talked about, things that they've mentioned that they touched or things that were touched, they'll do is they take gloves, they will bag it for when they take it back. So one of the things they should have bagged was the game board that they were playing on before the murder. Even if
Yeah.
it was 3 hours ago, it still could lead to something because the prints get either fresh or there could be new prints. You can use the information of those prints to find out more information. But they would take that. They would probably take. They should have taken the medicine bag. That's one of the things they should have taken.
Yeah.
If it was in the room.
That's the big one.
Yeah, but we learned later on it wasn't in the room.
Yeah, it was.
But we literally. Well, it sort of.
What do you mean, sort of?
I'll get to it when we get to the finale because it's not where it was in the last time we saw it. It's somewhere else. Wait, no, I'm stupid. Yes, it was. I'm just really dumb. I thought they taped off his bedroom, but they taped off the stairs next to his bedroom, and I just remembered it wrong.
Yeah, his bedroom and the room he's working in are separate.
Sorry, I completely forgot. But
it's all good.
What I'm trying to get at is that they would have bagged most of the little things in that room. Even the knives would have been bagged, but they were still there. But not the knife that killed him, but maybe one of the other knives.
Right.
But they didn't really do that. The room was left the same when they went to go visit it the next day. Well, not
Yeah.
about the same, but like things were put back, things were still there. It just there was no really like there's nothing that like actually showed like marks of possible evidence. It was just there's just tape here now.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very strange to me. But yeah, sorry, I went on a tangent there, but
No, it's all
it's
good. I agree.
yeah. But
He
as the movie goes on, the scene. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, I would like you mentioned the board. Like I didn't think of taking that, but yeah, that's something that they would normally take. Thing is, them
Especially since
taking
she said that they played a game of it.
right. But the thing is, them taking the board, it from the eye of God, right? They won't learn anything from taking the board, but they very much. No, that's not what I mean. The board doesn't have as much of an effect because nothing will be learned from it. So them being incompetent there won't make a difference either way, like in the grand
No, I
scheme
get
of
that. I'm
things.
just
But them
giving an
not
example of how they would normally do
right now. I agree.
it.
This is more for audience than you. But then
Yeah.
them taking the medicine bag would make a difference. Like the
Especially since
movie
she
will not
explained that
work if
before
they
he
take the
died.
medicine bag right now.
Especially since she said before he died, she gave them medicine.
Right.
But even then, she
Well,
lies
if they
about the
take the medicine
medicine,
bag
holds it
right
in.
now, then they
The movie's over.
yeah, the movie doesn't work.
But she says this, lies to them, and is able to hold it long enough for her to then run to the bathroom and then throw up.
Yeah.
And like there's a solid like 3 minutes of them talking to her even after she is, which is what I'm saying. The barf isn't very consistent.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, they like take
Yeah.
her into a room for questioning. And she in the flashback she's explaining like I can't lie. So uh Harlem says, don't lie. Just be very vague.
Mm-hmm.
And
And then they ask her more specific questions, which causes her to throw up.
right.
Which is also another thing. Like sometimes the cutaways will be what actually happened, and sometimes it will be what they say happens, and then the cutaway will be what actually happened, and then cuts back to them lying to him,
Right.
which is always very. It was a very strange transition. I don't think I've done very well.
I think as long as you're able to follow it, it works fine. But
the problem is, we now know information that the detective doesn't know,
right, which is not good
which is
for
always
which wouldn't be good for a
whodunit.
whodunit, but this isn't.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
it kind of is. It sort of is. But we
Sorta.
don't know it's a whodunit until the end again. Most of the rest of the movie is just hiding evidence and one really, really bad action.
Right.
So I guess we can get to her hiding the evidence, correct?
Sure. So after a few things happen.
Yeah.
Let me
Well, I was
let
going
me
to say,
double
luckily
check,
for
make sure
us,
I get this.
yeah,
So
luckily for us, there's only like three big chunks of the movie. There's the beginning, the lie, or the hiding evidence. So it's pretty
there's
simple. We spent a long time at the beginning, but the middle
yeah.
won't be as long.
He good old Ryan Johnson seems to do like 2/3 acts a lot in his movies, I've noticed.
Yeah, it's very strange.
But so they interrogate her, right? And question her. She gives a light description of what happened that night, and then she throws up afterwards. Yes. I'm
Yeah.
like rechecking the scenes real quick to make sure I'm nailing this. So
You're
then
good. You're good.
that night they have like a service
Mm-hmm.
for him, and
Yeah.
that's where like the conversation goes down about the immigration. I think.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah. and we find out about Fran's wheat stash. And that night, Daniel Craig is there, and he says that he's looking more into it because he's not sure about
He thinks something's off,
right, and
and
he's
he wants to double check
essentially
before he makes
taking
something.
Marta to be like just like under his
Watson.
wing, right? Is Watson. And his reason for this is because he is sure that she doesn't have any reason to have killed him.
Which
So,
is kind of true. He
no.
doesn't. He knows. Well, he knows there's no reason for her to kill him, but he knows she did.
He knows that she's involved.
Yes.
We find that out because of the last 3 minutes of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But
More like
she
last 5 minutes is
has
how long it's
reason.
struck.
She could have reason to kill him, though.
Yeah. Especially when the will reading happens.
Right. Especially with the will reading.
Which I think is one of the best scenes in the movie.
Oh, probably.
Yeah.
But
I think does that happen?
It's closer to the middle.
Yeah, okay. Oh yeah, it's funeral, the middle
funeral the next day. They go to the security place, and then the will reading happens.
Yeah. Which that scene, there's a cool shot for when they're going through and like looking at all the evidence. There's a scene where he has a VHS tape of her driving the wrong spot and actually pulling over to hide, obviously. And she makes the machine. Oh, sorry, am I allowed to go to this? Was there anything else you missed?
What are you saying? Say it again.
I'm talking about like them going through, looking at all the evidence,
like the tapes,
like walking around. Yeah, the tapes and like the backyard and all that.
Right. So
I was sure if anything you wanted. If there was anything before that, before I jump into this.
No, you're good for the tapes.
Okay. There's one really clever shot they have where they show her. It's very subtle, but you can see she has one of the magnets, which they showed early on in that scene where the guy who
you're talking about after. Yeah. Okay, hang on.
Yeah.
Then.
Sorry, go ahead.
So we established right away that we're doing that. There's the security cameras. So I don't know if any of you have security cameras, but I got a couple at home. Right? They're set up to a ring system, so it's just an app on my phone. I can open it up and see any of the cameras, and whenever they detect movement, they'll record for like 30 seconds, and then that gets saved in a cloud, and I think that stays for like a month. All right.
Oh, that's cool.
So the thing with security is it's one of those things where if you're going to have it, you're probably going to have it so that it's kind of good, kind of useful.
Yeah.
And if you care about it a lot, you're going to put effort into it. And if you don't care about it, you're probably not going to put any effort into it.
Yeah.
So the way they do, and this movie is based in 2017, I think.
19. Was it 2017?
I think so, or 2018, like the actual timeline for the movie, because they all have their iPhones and everything. So
yeah,
the way that they do security here is it's all in this like little shack somewhere on the property. Mm-hmm. It's just a guy there. He's got all these old TVs, and everything is recorded on VHS tapes. And he explains that after he records something, he just erases the tape with a magnet, and then reuses them. So,
which doesn't make much sense, but except for this one, of course, he doesn't erase this one.
Well, he doesn't erase this one, which fair enough. If he found out that there was a murder, he probably wouldn't. But so, I don't know if anyone's ever used VHS tapes. They're a bit old now, and I don't know how old our demographic is. But
What demographic?
The big thing about right, our 3 viewers. The big thing about them is that they get taped out. You can tape over them. And that's what everyone does everyone did when recording something new on a VHS tape. So instead of just recording
Whatever I
over
did back in
everything,
the day.
right, back in the day. Well, you'd see if you ever had a VHS tape and like you were watching a movie, there's like a chance at the end of the movie where it stops recording, then you'll catch the end of something else because whatever was on there
Yeah.
before. It's kind of cool. But so this guy erases them all with a magnet, which I hadn't heard of anyone doing, but apparently it works according to some light research, so fair enough. But the thing that's just really weird about all this is that is a lot of effort to go through, erase all these tapes, put them back in, re-record for 8 hours, when this guy is a multi-millionaire with a big, beautiful house. You think that he'd have some real security equipment.
From what the little we do see of him, he's very eccentric, and he's very much like not a really serious guy. With the interaction with him and Marta when they're playing the game.
Sure, but that's while they're playing a game.
Also, we see through the house that a lot of stuff he does own is very old and not a lot of new things are going on in his house.
Sure.
Everyone else has very much like new fit. I'm not disagreeing with you. I completely agree. He should have had a more advanced, system. But I can sort of see why it's not an advanced system. Does that make sense?
I mean, you could try to argue for
that's what I'm saying. I'm not
for the older things, but
I'm not arguing. But
that seems super weak.
Still, no, I agree. I'm not trying to say it's an argument. I'm just trying to say I can sort of see where they were going, but it also just doesn't really work. I would agree. I think he would have had a more advanced system, but I'm just playing devil's advocate here. I'm just pretending,
Yeah.
I agree with you fully.
It just seems very weak to try to say something like that when this is like something he should clearly care about if he's going to have it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Plus, I'd find it very hard to believe that would be cheaper if you're like employing some guy to sit there and do this every day.
Especially since he said he's been doing it for several years.
Right. But hey, either way.
But, yeah, so the tape...
Yeah, there's a bit of an argument. The laptop he's on has Windows XP on it.
Yeah, it's pretty old, so...
But...
It's very weird.
Anywho. So, after... Wait, what the... Oh, okay, there we go.
What?
So... the scene is shot really weird because we're told that because she's trying to fast forward the tape, and this is sort of the moment in time when she realizes that she didn't turn at the right time and the tape has caught her doing something suspicious. So she's like moving her finger closer to the eject button, but then like the tape ejects.
It cuts away.
Right. It cuts away and the tape ejects and there's like smoke coming out of the VCR. And then the guy who works there is like, oh, you gotta hold it down or it'll overheat or something. It's weird. I'm not sure
it's very weird. Yeah,
I'm not sure what they're trying to get at.
As much as we just went on a whole tangent about VHSs, we also don't know the intricacies of VHSs.
Well, I mean,
it could be a legit thing that happens.
My fast forward always worked.
Yeah, but from what we hear from him, we learned this information. Hold on, guys, face. Hold on.
Bless you.
Oh, did you hear that?
Yeah.
Oh, that was nasty. Jesus Christ. I like put the earphones off my head and like move them far away as possible too. Jesus. Oh, sorry about that. What was I saying? Oh, but he made a mention of how the machines didn't always properly work, but like that was after the fact, so it was very strange.
Yeah. And then
and it was just
once that's all over, she just pulls the tape out of the VCR and pockets it.
Yeah, because they're having her hold on to the evidence.
Well, yeah, that's the weird part. We have decided that there's no way that she's guilty at all, despite knowing that she had something to do with the murder. And now we're letting her carry around the evidence and work the she's working the machine when there's a guy who gets paid, we assume, to do this every day. Like he should probably be working all this so she isn't screwed up. And then after they decide that this hasn't worked, Daniel Craig wants to make a digital copy of the tape to make it a bit easier. And they have her carrying around the tape. And then in the next scene, one of our police officers is like, "Oh, hey, by the way, I guess I could carry that for you." And that's when we get the reveal that she's like she stole a magnet and she's been wiping it on the tape.
However, it does lead to a well shot thing that's immediately ruined.
Sure.
Because we see her very briefly have the magnet over the tape. Like if you're not paying attention, you wouldn't see it. But if you're watching carefully, you could see her do it. But just in case you're an idiot and didn't see, they then show her holding the magnet and then like slided it into her pocket. Like we didn't need that shot because we can learn later on that the tape was erased, and we can go, "Oh my God, she took one of the magnets." We saw the magnet. We saw she was there to learn about the magnet. We briefly saw her holding a magnet, and now we learned that the tape was erased. That would have been well done, but they ruined it by having us literally see the magnet.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? It's not subtle. That's one of the times where he isn't subtle.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of like in Joker when they say or when we established that the girlfriend was fake the whole time, but then they go back and show us all the scenes with her edited out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just sort of like, strange. Oh, I guess we needed to see this the second time. Which I mean, I don't. Well, James, I don't hate, but it's
very
like jarring. I don't know. Like have a little bit more respect for your audience, I'd say.
Yeah, don't treat us like idiots.
Right. Which you could then say goes back to the whole like don't show us X and then tell us it's Y, which is something that happens a few times in this movie and in The Last Jedi.
So that might just be his style, Jay.
I guess. I don't know. It's like if I did a math quiz wrong and then I was like, oh, it's just my style to count 2s as 3s.
Not wrong, you're wrong.
Yeah. Idiot. But anyway. Then they're walking. Well, what?
And then ruined. But yeah, sorry, that was well done, then ruined. But yeah, continue.
Yeah, like pretty good scene, and then like just kind of made void. But anyway, they continue through. They're like walking through the woods at this point, and they come up on the back door, or like the back entrance into the woods because it's like kind of fenced in around the house. Like the yard is all fenced, not fenced, but like there's like a stone wall going around, and then this is how you get into the woods.
Yeah.
And like really quickly, Daniel Craig realizes that there's like footprints in the mud.
Well, quickly is an understatement. It takes him a second because then he goes mud. Oh no! Yeah, no one move.
Like, mud. No wait, no one move. And Marta's up ahead already, and she realizes what's going on.
Yeah.
So she's like,
she was way quicker on the. Sorry.
Yeah, way quicker than our world famous private detective.
Quicker on the draw.
Yeah, the draw.
And so she's acting like an idiot, going like, "What? Don't do what now? Huh?"
Right, and she's all walking on the path. Which, I mean, it's like smart enough to kind of pretend that you don't know what's going on, so I can appreciate the scene, but it seems unnecessary to me because I think it'd be really easy to be like, "Oh yeah, I walk through here all the time whenever I'm walking the dogs or anything of that nature."
Makes sense.
Yeah,
there's another way around. But the other thing I was also going to say is that we didn't see it rain. This is me going back to when I took a class on this, on like science. But in science class, we learned about how you use evidence like this, or how you learn, or how they properly take care of evidence like this. So the footprints, they would only make like a model of the footprints, so they don't want to actually. They can't exactly remove the earth. So they make a model of it. They use either clay or they use some sort of
use like the form of, like the plaster.
Yeah, they use something to make the mold. But with what we've learned, it's been a few days since it last rained. but it rained bad enough to where it got muddy. But from the 2 days we saw, it was sort of sunny. And it could have also, it's not saying that it would make the footprints go away per se, but it would have made the footprints less recognizable, if that makes
Yeah.
even without her stepping over it, there would be some room for, it could be, and even then, it would still just lead to her saying, "Oh, I walk the dogs back."
Yeah.
You know, I'm not. I'm just. I get very excited when I can talk about stuff I care about.
Yeah, no worries.
I'm a very big fan of stuff like this. I like watching Law and Order and stuff like that, where you're watching a murder and you're watching how the characters learn it. So seeing a movie about it and then saying, "Oh, this isn't very well done," you know why? It's very happy. It makes me very happy.
Right. And
I don't get that.
this seems like a reasonable enough time to kind of throw in. You're watching like different movies I think have different goals overall.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're gonna watch something like I am totally blanking on any kind of example, but if you want to watch, if you're gonna watch a movie that's like maybe like a more actiony movie, like what's gonna be important about it?
Taken.
Sure, Taken. So what important aspects are we going to be really focusing on to make this movie a great one? It's like, okay, we want our action scenes to be good. So choreography is important. And like camera work is going to be very important. Lighting, anything to
showing
like
how heavy the hits are.
Right, visuals, maybe like some sound design. And then when it comes to our writing, we're going to need we should like have a decent knowledge of like anatomy. So like if someone gets shot somewhere, how are they going to be limited now? What kind of
How are they going to react to such an injury?
Right, and how is this going to affect them through the rest of the movie? But then if you watch something like Transformers, the argument I always hear is like, "Oh, the writing doesn't need to be great because I'm not here for the writing. I'm here for
the spectacle."
The big robots, hitting each other." And
right.
I disagree with that sentiment, but I see where that argument is coming from. So the point that this is all leading up to is what we're dealing with is a whodunit. So the purpose of the movie is that there is a mystery that follows a logical sense of progression that is getting solved. So the writing seems very important to me in this kind of movie, especially.
Mm-hmm.
So when you say,
and normally in a whodunit, when you have clues, the clues lead to someone that isn't correct, but a part of that is correct, and we're able to piece the puzzle together piece by piece.
Right. So in this movie, when we have police officers who are not gathering evidence correctly, when we have a detective and police officers who are being very reckless with the evidence that they did gather and they're trusting someone who's very easily a prime suspect, when we have when we're dealing with like plots revolving around anatomy and people's health, but then we have someone who's unconscious from taking a drug getting CPR done to them to try to save them. Like things like this, it's worse than normal.
Yeah.
Because these are all things that should be getting nailed because this is important to the story.
Absolutely.
If you're watching I'll do Transformers again. If you're watching Transformers and like one of our soldier characters gets shot, but then like in the next scene they're walking like without really any issues, like that's not going to have as big of an impact as in our John Wick movie when John Wick gets shot in the leg, but then in the next scene he's doing well because there's different value on different characters and different acts that are being committed to. So and especially in these whodunits, the writing and the logical progression is very important.
And there's slight logical progression, but it's very rough.
Well, you can see when it's happening, but I think this movie was I've either been told that it's very good or very mediocre, or not mediocre, but like either great or good. And I don't think either of
Mhm.
those really represent it well. I'd say it is bad to maybe mediocre. And
I would say there are hints of good things, but it's mostly
yeah,
yeah. There are
I
there's
don't think
scenes
it's
that
all
are
bad
pretty
or
good.
anything. Absolutely not.
Yeah,
But
because we're
like
about to get to one of the
there's a
good
lot of
scenes.
bits here that are very weak, and they happen to be the bits that I think would be very important to make sure that they're good in this type of
Yeah,
movie.
absolutely. Do you want to get to the good scene though of the will reading?
Just before
We are.
then, they're walking
Yeah.
around outside the house. People are showing up for the will reading. Um, is this where
Oh, you want to
we
talk about ransom? Yeah, ransom.
Ransom's gonna show up? The piece of the wooden piece of the outside of the house that she broke off,
Broke.
the
Yeah.
dog brings to her, and she's like, "Oh no, this is evidence, like incarcerating me." So she throws it, and then later the dog brings it to Daniel Craig, and
Yeah.
I this whole time I'm just kind of thinking, why did she throw it? She knows how dogs work, right? Like,
Yeah, that was weird because it's like, yeah, the dog's not going to go fetch it. What are you doing? And why did
right?
my question is why did it bring it back to Daniel Craig and not her? Dogs would bring it back immediately.
Yeah, yeah, like
She's not having to
multiple
throw an arm
scenes
to be
pass
like,
between these
yeah,
events.
yeah, because yeah, it's very strange. She's just like, oh, hey, that's weird. That dog should have brought that back now. Oh, 5 minutes later, oh, the dog brought it back now.
Yeah.
It's very weird. But
There,
um,
after that, there's a nice little scene where Daniel Craig
everyone's
is
treating Chris.
checking out the crime scene, right, the room,
Yeah,
and excuse me, he the board that for their board game is still there, which we already talked about how it's not really a good thing, but it's almost redeemed because he like knocks it on the ground and listens to how it thuds on the ground, and
yeah.
he sort of thinks to himself, that isn't
Because they said they heard a loud thud.
right. He just kind of like gives it a look like, oh, that doesn't seem right. But
Yeah,
then,
and even she's just like, oh shit.
yeah, she kind of reacts to it. But then that's cut
Mhm.
short because Ransom shows up.
And he is the highlight of this.
Well, of course, it's Chris Evans, folks.
Well, well, yeah, but he's doing a great job because it's like you assume since he's Chris Evans and the only thing we've really seen him in is that Captain America, and the Marvel movies, including him, that like he's a stoic, he's always going to play like, oh, I'm this stoic, great guy who's always looking out for people. And this movie, he's just an asshole. Like,
Yeah.
he's just a dick, and it's great. Like, it's really nice to see him play someone else. I'm just like, you sound like Captain America, but you're an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
And the entire family even treats him like such. And the great part about it is that the way he behaves, how everyone's reacting to him, he knows something that everyone else doesn't know.
Yeah,
And we learn what it is,
and
but
he's aware of it.
yeah. So everyone talking down to him, and he's just like, oh, okay,
He's just
y'all,
kind of like
because
laughing.
because they all think they're going to get a piece of the will because
Right.
they've been so nice. They're nice.
Right.
They're
Good
nice people.
Plus,
Hashtag
this is our
trademark.
dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, a couple other things I want to toss out. When we were over by the footprints, the dogs run
Mhm.
over and like Marta starts petting him and they react really nicely to her. And Daniel Craig is like, the approval of a dog. There's no better test of character. Then when Ransom
Mhm.
shows up, the dogs are like barking at him and like
Trying to
jumping up
bite him.
on him kinda.
Yeah.
And let's see, there was something else. I was just gonna
They
say
also yell. They
all
also yell at Jimmy Lee Curtis.
they like run to her, but I don't think they're
I thought they yelled at Joni then. I think they yelled at one of the other characters too. They barked one,
uh
but I can't remember who.
it's just a little bit before that. They run to Jamie Lee Curtis and her husband,
Husband.
but they're like, I don't know, they're barking, but she seems very welcoming of them. Like, hey guys, how's it going?
Yeah.
But I don't know. So Captain America shows up, right?
Mm-hmm.
First thing that happens is our two police officers. Let me make sure I nailed this. Give me 1 second.
Take your time. This review is running a little long, but there's a lot to talk about, so we're sorry about this.
Okay, so.
Oh, thank God! I thought you died. Jesus.
Nah, we're chilling.
You just straight up disappeared. I'm like,
Well, I want to make
what
sure
do
I
I say
nail it.
now?
And the last time I listened to a clip of a movie while recording, it wouldn't let me private it on YouTube to send to Patrick. So you already know I'm just gonna make sure I'm all muted on the stream so that I can watch this without us getting in trouble again. So
thank you, YouTube.
Yeah,
Very cool.
thanks, YouTube. I love the idea that we're almost at an hour and a half. I can make an hour and a half video of me talking about a movie, but God forbid if 7 seconds of sound from that movie gets played, if it's not restricted, it's getting demonetized, and you already know that Ryan Johnson
that's what
definitely
we're after. Yeah.
deserves all the ad revenue for the 7 seconds of his movie I play. Ridiculous.
Yep, all
Also, I love
0.002
YouTube.
cents.
YouTube is great. YouTube is fair. YouTube is God of my world. Yes. Thank you,
No
YouTube.
sarcasm.
And Google. Yeah, none. Thank you.
Yep, no
for all
sarcasm.
that YouTube.
Also, thank you, Disney.
The Disney too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Satan.
Oh,
Anyway.
we suck your dick.
Right. They're not rats.
Sorry.
But anyway.
But
so he shows
go
up.
ahead.
Our two officers are there, and they say, "Are you Hugh?" Whatever the last name is, Thromby. And he says,
Hugh Thromby. You got it, yeah.
Yeah. And he says, Ransom, call me Ransom. Only the help call me Hugh. So it's kind of odd. We don't, because he says this, so you think that he would want people to call him Ransom, which is fair enough. But then he says, only the help call me Hugh. And I have no idea why only the help would call him Hugh, because they are definitely the people that he could tell to call him by whatever
Ransom.
name he wants.
I think it was just a line to make people to have him to connect the fact that Hugh and you and someone else that in the help later on says Hugh, but I do think it's very poorly done.
Well, that's the thing. They want to have that payoff later, but
yeah,
it's not.
It's a throwaway line. It's a throwaway line, which I really like. Throwaway line that later comes back, but the line really doesn't make sense.
It's just very strange, because it'd be one thing if his family called him Hugh and he was like, I don't like that, or if his family called him Ransom and he was like, I don't like that, but he doesn't. He seems to want to be called Ransom, but for some reason the help call him Hugh.
I think it would have been better if his father called him Hugh and he says, "Don't call me Hugh."
Right.
That would have made way more sense.
But that complicates things, because then why is the help allowed to call him Hugh?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
But it's
that'll come back in a
Save
Martha level of contrivance. Anyway. So after this, he walks in. He kind of brushes past the officers. They want to ask him questions, and he's like, "No, I'm in mourning right now."
By the way, he says this line while clearly pissed, so it's really well delivered.
Right. It's like he's not. He just
doesn't give a fuck.
He just wants in. Yeah. So inside,
he wants to see the shit show.
Right. So inside, the family immediately starts berating him for, sucking. We've only ever heard bad things about Ransom up until this point. He's a dick.
It was a build up, and it was worth the wait.
Right. So right away, people are like, the family members are calling him names. They're like, why didn't you show up to the funeral? But you're here early for the will reading. That's a bit odd, isn't it? And he's just like, yeah.
And on top of that, the family also is condescending towards him too.
Absolutely.
They're acting like they care about him. They're going maybe this will finally make you realize, maybe you finally get off your ass and finally do some, And what they're saying this, by the way, while also been making careers out of sitting on their ass, and it's very hypocritical to an extent.
To an extent, I don't think that's totally fair. I think the movie wants.
Well, they're trying to say that he should make something out of his own life, but in reality, what's happening is that they made something because someone else helped them out. It's the Donald Trump. I started my small loan.
Well, that's what I don't like about the whole Donald Trump thing, because a loan of $1 million would certainly help anybody with their business.
Well, yeah,
but
yeah,
there's still skill required to actually get somewhere with that.
I get that, but it's just like the way the family's behaving towards him.
I think Ryan Johnson holds the view that, like, you didn't do anything. It was the $1 million loan. When in reality, I don't think that's fair at all. I agree that Ransom should be doing something, but I don't think it's particularly fair for them to try to say, for someone to try to say that they're basically the same. Because they're not.
Yeah, I would agree. They're not, but I like how this is shot, where the family's treating him like a child.
Right. No, I like at the end when because they're all like, this is gonna be good for you. You're finally on your own. And then at the end, after the reveal, he's like, I think this will be very good for you all.
Whoa, yeah. Well, let's not get to that. Yeah, let's talk about what actually happened. Let's talk about what happens between them. Because this is my favorite scene. This is when, as Daniel Craig puts it later, where the vultures are feeding from.
Okay,
what was the analogy? It was really good now.
Let's not.
The vultures feeding from.
Here at all. Why
the vultures feeding from the feast, where everything in the will, as he's reading it, the will is one page long. Everyone thinks, "Oh, this will be super quick. I'll get this. You'll get this. You'll get this."
Was in that mess.
He reads the will and says that every single thing that he owns goes to Mark. And as soon as that's delivered,
that's where you were all night.
What the hell are you doing in the bathroom?
They were a little bit of a dick,
Swatting
but now
Syrian refugees.
they've gone full on. This is fucking
troll.
bullshit. What are you talking about? That can't be right. And they're actively not actively attacking, but they're like attacking the will reader, saying, "You're wrong. This can't be right. Something's wrong here. She must have used her sex to make her change the will, or she must have done something to change it." Like they start. Well, they even say it was weirdly said by me, but you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
They're suggesting that because she's a woman, she did something to change the will, or they just start hounding her. And she tries to leave, her car won't start, and then Chris Evans comes in and goes like, now Chris Evans comes in and saves her. But that entire scene is well done. The shaky cam in the middle of it's a little weird, but I get what they were going for, because now she's unnerved. Everything's crazy. It's one of the few times they use the shaky cam in this movie, which is well done. I think it's well done. Weirdly transitioned, but well done.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm. And I definitely liked that scene, as well as the following scene where she explains to Chris Evans what all happened, especially with how he tricks her into telling him.
Yeah.
He acts all nice. He acts really friendly. He says, "This is some bullshit. My family's just a piece of shit. Here's some food. Now that you've eaten a bunch of beans, you're going to tell me everything, or you're going to throw up."
Right.
I think super well done.
Yeah. I think that reveal gets a little bit too much credit, because even if there's nothing in your stomach, you'll still like gag or like throw up like liquid and stomach acid. So I think it's like I think it's treated like a big reveal, like, or like a big play, a big catch, like, oh, I got you, I trapped you here, and now I fed you a lot, so now you have to tell me everything, when she could really easily just stand up and walk away.
She could. You're right.
Yes.
No, that was it.
Excellent.
No, that was it.
Fantastic.
You're not wrong. Yeah. Well, I mean, the only thing that was the problem is that she can't really leave because he drove her there.
She can call a cab. She can get an Uber.
Good point. She has $1 trillion now, so
she could talk. She could say, get help from somebody.
Oh shit.
So the family is in a whole fight. like you said, the will gets read. Oh, before the will gets read, Daniel Craig finds the mud prints up on the window sill and in the carpet. Does that really ever get hit on again?
Kind of, not really, because like what it ends up suggesting is that she did it or she went up there, but also we know that Chris or someone else goes up there too.
Right.
But that's not until the end. But it's not really touched up on it, like at all. So
yeah,
it's very weird.
I didn't think it really got paid off at all. Also, the lawyer or attorney who's reading the will is Yoda. It's Frank Oz himself. Fun fact for y'all. So,
few fun facts for you, matey.
Yeah, fun facts. So, so Marta spills the beans to Chris Evans, tells him everything.
You're a fucking clever bean, aren't you?
That's right. While they're in the restaurant, Hannah Baker calls and is like trying. It's interesting. She's trying to kind of appeal to Marta, and she tells her like she's scared because she won't be able to afford her college anymore. And Marta's like, no, that don't worry about that. That will happen. I'll take care of you. And then Hannah asks,
before she could tell the rest of her sentence, she canes up.
Right, and she's like, I think you should give the money back to us. And Marta is like kind of doesn't really say much of anything.
Right.
I think she sort of just says again, like, don't worry, I'll take care of you. I'll give you all the help you need. And then Hannah just hangs up.
Right. And the rest of the family acts all smug because they knew.
Oh, the rest of the family is just like staring her down.
Which, by the way, she lied and said that she pulled aside by herself. So we see the reveal that she lied to her.
Yeah.
So we're supposed to once again think that she's a bad person, but she also didn't really feel like she had a choice.
Yeah, I'm not sure what to really think there. Yeah. I mean, I guess you could say, no, I'm not doing this, but I don't know what.
But she had a reason, because if she didn't, then she couldn't go to college anymore. So.
Right. Well,
it's very like, weird.
That's like barely a betrayal. The big issue here is that, excuse me. We also find out that she tells the family about Marta's mom being an illegal immigrant. And that's
by the way, that's a big plot point. We didn't touch on that, but that's the reason why they hid the murder.
Right, yeah. Because we don't want because Harlem doesn't want her life getting ruined by this manslaughter, essentially.
By this accidental manslaughter, yeah.
Right, which is quite noble, gotta say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm cool with it, but
yeah,
just quite amazing. What a guy. So
I can't tell if you're being sarcastic.
No, seriously. Like
yeah.
I don't know. Like I had thought about it for a while, and I was like, is there anything like really wrong with this? And I think it's like a bit like over the top, but
is there anything wrong with a man
fair
going
enough.
to save someone?
Right.
Especially since she was basically being paid to be his friend, and there's a clear connection between the two.
Yeah, he very much cares about her, and so it's like fair enough.
Especially since he gave everything from his will to her.
Yeah, by now he's already made the decision to give everything to her. So if it comes out that she killed him, then everything will get returned to his family, and he doesn't want that.
Yeah.
So fair enough. No, yeah, I'm cool with it. After that, it's just like a cut to Marta waking up in her bed, and her sister is like, yo, what's going on? Are we rich? There's tons of people outside.
Yeah.
And so Marta tries to get away. No.
Yeah, you're right.
Nope.
No, she goes out to get the letters.
Right.
Yeah, and then
the next scene is Daniel Craig talking to the great Nana.
I think that scene was meant to be comedic. Like, because at this point we know Nana doesn't really talk. And whenever we have seen Nana, there was like a joke involved with Nana. Like there's one scene where
because she's
one
like
of the characters
ancient.
like, Nana, have you ate yet? And like they say, Nana ate all of the shrimp already. It's like, oh, haha, because she hasn't moved. We don't really assume. That's the joke.
Yeah, we're introduced to her by them saying, great Nana, Harlem's mother, and they're like, oh, how old is she? And we're in the character, and Jamie Lee Curtis is like, we have no idea.
Yeah, and she's basically just like a comedy relief character, but does play a role later.
Right.
But
Well,
that scene I think is funny, but also it just goes on for way too long, in my opinion.
I agree. What's important here is that Nana is gonna tell about the reveal at the end. But while trying to cover up the murder, Nana saw Marta leaving the house after coming back. And when she saw, she was like, Ransom, is that you again?
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so then we have Marta trying to escape, or trying to leave the house. She's like got all the letters and everything. She goes outside, and Walt is there. And that's the whole scene that like is clearly trying to be really dramatic. Because
the scene trying to be dramatic, but it's not well done because like he has a cane and like he's like hitting the cane in the ground, and every time he hits the cane in the ground, it's like getting louder and louder.
Right. Well, just because he's like taking steps
like,
forward. But
and like the way he's talking and saying like we may or may not know that your mom's an illegal immigrant. It would be really terrible if.
Well, no, he says it straight up.
Out.
But
yeah,
he it's
almost like he's giving advice.
It's strangely done because when I saw it, I thought he was trying to be helpful, but other people seem to think that he's like trying to be very subtle about threatening her. And
that's what I thought too.
Well, I can see both. I can see that interpretation, but nothing really. He never says anything with any malice. Like,
right. The way he speaks doesn't make him sound threatening. What's supposed to be threatening is
if someone was like, it would be a real shame if they found out your mother's an illegal immigrant, like that would be one thing. But this whole time he's just like, hey, listen, we know about your mom. We want to help, because you're good to our father, and we want to make sure that like nothing happens to her or you. But then
right.
she's like getting stressed out because she feels like she's being threatened, and that's when they start to do some like superficial trickery, I guess you could say, where
trying to make you think that it's scary.
Yeah, which I mean, it's like a dark hallway, and then like they really emphasize the sound of his cane hitting the ground, and it's like really zoomed in on him, and it's like
it's claustrophobic,
right? And she's like kind of panicking. And at that point, she's like, oh, well, you want to use your resources to help me. Well, those resources are my resources now, so I guess I'll be able to help myself. Right? And Walt's just like, that's not what I meant.
Yep.
So, I don't know. Walt overall seems like a pretty good person. Like,
but he's trying to be scary, but he just isn't a scary guy.
Well, it's trying to make him scary, but just doesn't seem to work. So she gets a letter. It's just the header. It's just a photocopy of the header of a tox report. And
now this might be making it sound stupid, but what is a tox report?
Okay, so whenever there's like a crime, generally, or like a victim, they'll do a toxicology report, which is my mom did this for years, where you like sort of takes a sample of somebody's blood and you run it through a bunch of tests, and you do this to find something out. So like if there's a car accident and someone's in the hospital, they'll like take a sample of their blood, they'll send it up to the tox people, and tox people analyze it, and they'll be like, oh, this blood has a ton of alcohol and some
right, okay,
cocaine. Right.
Yeah, I just didn't know that's what that was called. I know what it is now. I just don't remember. For some reason it left my memory. They do that all the time in Law and Order, where they're like,
oh, absolutely,
this person had a bunch of like heroin in their system, or
Yeah.
It's clear there was semen, shit like that.
Fun fact for you: poppy seeds,
Ooh.
that you'll find in bagels, they have the same a chemical in them that's also present in heroin. So if you eat like a poppy bagel before you get a drug test done for a job interview, they will definitely ping you as a heroin user.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you learn this from being a bagel shop?
I knew about
worker?
it sometime before, but I make jokes about it all the time now.
You just go to one of your employees and go or one of the customers and go like, "Hey, I bet you're about to go do some heroin with this," and they're like, "What? Maybe."
Yes, someone ordered 2 dozen poppy bagels, and I was like, "Trying to lose a drug test, are we?" Just yeah. But anyway, so the next scene right after that, we cut to
the place that the tox report was gotten.
Well, she's actually talking to Ransom about it, and he thinks that they need to go get the tox report. But the lab is burnt down, and there's a scene where they're like, right. So camera data isn't stored locally on the camera, by the way, people.
Yeah, camera storage is stored in the balls.
I'm not validating that response by giving it any response. It's backed up on a server. Almost.
Yeah.
In the morning, someone doesn't go around and pull a bunch of USBs out of a bunch of cameras, folks. It'll be on a server somewhere.
That make it breaking things way easier.
Yes. But essentially, the scene is just here to tell us that no, we will not be getting any information on who's done this.
Yeah.
So
what we do get is a email.
Right. Marta shows up with Captain America, and he's like, "Did you get any other mail, any emails, anything?" And she's like, "Oh, I haven't checked my email." So she checks, and it says it gives her it's just an address and a time, and that time is it's coming up
10 o'clock.
Right.
Yeah.
So
just conveniently.
Yeah. So then Daniel Craig.
Not conveniently but.
Right. Well, yeah. It's like, oh, we got to get there. So then Daniel Craig sees her, and so she drives away. But then there's a whole chase scene.
Yep. My God, was it fucking terrible?
Yeah.
It's not well shot. It's not interesting. And the music's just all over the place in the scene. I don't just like, oh, okay, cool. She's running for the police. This is definitely something that I feel like her character would do.
Right. I
don't feel like she would do such a thing.
Yeah. This will all come around to her not really being a great person in the end. But
yeah,
we'll talk about that.
You would not run away from the police.
Right. It's just like a bunch of things. But she evades them for a little while. And then after getting a couple of them to crash, she parks somewhere. And then Daniel Craig just shows up. And they arrest Ransom. Because I don't remember the reasoning they give.
Baltar, put your hands down.
I spoke to Juanetta Thromby, Great Nana. Not at the party.
They think Ransom because they think Ransom.
The Great Nana said that he came back. So that's why they arrest him.
Yeah.
Which
we assume is wait, that's because she thought Ransom was what's her face? But we know at the end
Marta.
That, oh no, Nana was right. Yeah.
Yeah. So
which is one of those things where it's yes, that's a piece of the puzzle that we don't realize until the end.
So Daniel Craig asks Marta if Ransom told her to drive away and evade the police, and she says yes. And then she gets back into her car and immediately throws up into a cup and puts the lid back on and puts it in the back seat. So throw up smells, guys.
So fun fact, James. I tried this the other day, after we saw it, just to see.
You vomited into a cup and left it in your car?
Yeah, and then I had a friend come with me. I drove my friend over here to D&D, and he did react to it. So
this is the thing you just tried.
Yeah, for science, James.
Okay. I will choose to believe you. So, well, it all makes sense to me. So, hang on. Daniel Craig gets in the car, and
Yeah.
we
Start talking about donuts.
yeah, well, the plan is she's gonna drive them all to the house or the police station. And as she's driving, she like keeps looking at her email, and she's like,
Clock.
"Hey, can we?" Yeah, the clock. And she's like, "Hey, can we stop somewhere?" And he's like, "Oh, sure." And in my head, I'm just like, "Okay, so this still murder suspect is driving you around, and you're just gonna let her go run an errand real quick? Like, seriously?" But you know,
We know why later. Well, while he's doing that, so she goes into a building, and she goes out, like she goes through a building that's like a hair place, and then comes out of it, and then goes to the building next door, which is abandoned. And this is where we get a reveal. Oh, are you back?
yeah. Sorry, I pulled out
Okay,
the cord.
I just explained to them that.
Right.
I just explained to them that.
I wasn't sure why she did it, but I think I get it now. Just rewatching it.
Yeah.
She like very much
She did it
looks
so
at
that
the
way
address, but walks into a different building, I guess to not tip him off. She goes
Yeah.
straight to the back of the building. It's like a hair salon. So normally you're not just allowed to go to the back of places of work like this.
Yes, you can. You can. I do it at work there's no lock on the back, like on those type of buildings.
There is on mine.
no
That's
locks.
the way I go in every day. It's always locked.
Not where I've come. Not here. Not in most places I've worked.
Okay, well, first of all, she, as far as they know, she's a customer. She just walks straight into the back of their building. That's like where people's stuff is. Like that's where.
No, I get that. That I agree. No, I agree on that one.
So she goes out their back door.
But I'm just saying, going through the back door of but going through the back door of an abandoned place, there's no lock. From my perspective, that's okay. But I don't like how the person is positioned inside the building.
I'm not a fan,
because it gives away the twist, but.
Well, let's talk about it. So she goes in the other door. It's not locked or anything, which is fine, I guess. She goes in. It's dark room. She sees somebody in a chair. She is totally fine with just walking in here by herself. And she's yelling. She's like, I don't know what you want, but I'm here now. And she walks up to the body, and it's Fran, the housekeeper. Super gross. There's a spider on her face. We find out because the medicine bag is there, and there's morphine missing from the bottle, so we know she got injected with it. And she's holding.
I just bumped into 5 things.
That's right. And she's holding the tox report, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. The tox report, like the rest of the content. Yeah.
Or is she holding a letter? Hang on.
She's holding a letter. She's holding something. It's in a letter.
Right. There's an envelope. She grabs it. The envelope's empty.
I don't remember what it is.
Oh, it's because.
Oh, that's right.
They burned it. Yeah, that's right. So she wakes up, and she's clearly drugged. She's struggling to breathe. She's trying to talk. She is not really getting anything out. And then she says, "You did this, and you're not going to get away with this." Or
no, that's it.
Yeah.
It's you won't get away with this. You did this with a very clear what we think is supposed to be a slur to her voice.
Right, and she looks very angry and aggressive or threatening when she's saying this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So after she says that, Marta kind of drops her, and then she goes unconscious again after still seizing a little bit. And then Marta starts giving her CPR.
Mm-hmm.
And
I don't know if that's how that works, but
I wouldn't.
Yeah. But she just does call 911, so
this is a moment where she calls 911 and leaves the phone there.
This is a moment where we're supposed to think oh my god, she's so brave, she's so helpful because she's saving someone who thinks she committed the murder.
Right.
But at the same time, why would you hesitate saving someone's life? Because then if think about it. If you do get caught for this murder, or don't get caught for this murder, you've just actively let someone else die, and you could have done something to stop it, which is a crime too.
Right.
It's a very weird, like, should I help? And my answer is, yeah, you should probably help them.
Yeah, it's very strange because, like, I don't know. I'm immediately thinking, like, she's all drugged up. She's delusional. She could be seeing anything right now, but surely she knows who did this to her, and she knows it's not me. So I would risk it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess my point is, like, if I wanted to get away with this, like she is in the situation she's in right now, I would do the same thing just because I'm sure this person can exonerate me.
Damn fucking hair. Sorry, I'm listening. My headphone just popped out because I moved my hair slightly.
It's all good. So then
Wax.
Her and Daniel Craig are in the hospital where Fran is.
Yeah.
Because the ambulance showed up. And we find out that
and she explains, right?
Ransom said everything. Or
that's
told
right.
The whole
Ransom
story.
Sells out, yeah.
Right. So she explains everything while they're driving back to the house. Marta plans on giving telling the family what happened and giving everything back. And then she remembers Hannah Baker mentions Meg's stash of like marijuana, and that's when Marta realizes, if she had an extra copy of the tox report, it would be there. And sure enough, it is there. It's like all folded up. So right when Marta's about to tell the whole family about how she killed Harlem, Daniel Craig starts reading the tox report and then realizes something and interrupts her, goes and tells the whole family off. He's like, you've all been rude to her and you're all terrible, and she's not giving anything back, and then takes her away. Takes Marta away, right?
Yeah.
They're all like kind of surprised by this. And
because they're like, oh, finally, I'm getting what I deserve. And then
right. So then we go through this when the reveal starts. It starts with Daniel Craig saying, "Why was I hired?" Which is
why was I hired?
Which was a fun line considering he can barely say H's. But anyway. So we find out. Jeez, do I have to break down this whole reveal? They bring in Ransom for this.
Yeah, he starts by saying, get everyone out of the house except for, and then whispers so we don't know who, because we're like, oh my god, what is... But at this point, we don't know what's happening.
Right.
We're not given any clues. We're not given any information. We're just given, someone else is doing it, but we haven't been given any information. And the only person we've been interacting with is Ransom. And the only person we know who's done something against her is Ransom. So we're like, okay.
Smart as inheritance.
So who is it then? We don't know. But it's not because we don't know the pieces, because we literally don't know.
Someone knew what Marta did, wanted to expose it, but could not
do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. So,
like, we have all these characters, but have we even talked about any of them since the beginning of the movie?
Well, no, none of them are really characters.
Yeah, that's the problem. We have all these characters, but they really don't do anything.
We have a couple of motivations, but that's about it.
Yeah. We don't have any solid evidence for those motivations.
You could derive a few things from the way they talk. Like, Jamie Lee Curtis is very clearly very confident and, like, I guess sure of herself, and she, like, feels that she is, like, the successful one, which is all very fair enough. Like...
But there was no reason for them to attack her yet, because they all reacted the same. The only person who didn't react the same to the will reading was Chris.
Right. And that's just because he knew already.
Yeah. So we should know by now that it is Chris Evans.
Yeah.
Because we're like, the only person who could it be is Chris Evans, but then we're given it's not actually him, because look how friendly he's being to her.
Right.
But that doesn't, just because you're being friendly, it probably means that he knows more than we do.
Yeah, that's just the thing that I noticed right away. It's like the person who I thought it was at the very beginning is still the person it was.
Yeah, but they try to trick you into double twisting. I'm like, no, don't make this a pretzel.
Right. Seems unnecessary.
Especially if pretzel with no salt, because now I don't have anything.
Right. I would say that this movie made me quite salty.
Well, obviously.
Right.
But the reveal at the end is that Chris Evans, his whole thing was that he was the one who committed the crime. He took the medicine that was supposed to save him and switched the labels.
Well, that's like the thing about it. He goes and he switches the labels because he came back to the house after he left, and that's when the great Nana first saw him. So he got into the medicine bag and switched the labels. And the big point here is that the labels were switched. So when Marta thought he gave him the wrong medicine, she actually gave the correct medicine. And they try to frame this as like it's because you're such a good nurse because you know that the liquids are slightly different, so you could just feel the difference. When
I don't know if that's true or not.
When I looked into
like if
this,
the nurse can actually do that.
Everything that I read said that if I ever attempted anything like this, I would immediately get removed from the nurses registry and probably get sued, definitely fired.
Really?
Yeah, so I'm sure you could tell a difference, but he really says that it is just the slightest difference in viscosity. So I don't like it. It's contract.
No, I agree.
So from there,
it's very, very strange, especially for how young she is. You know, she's young enough to make mistakes.
Right, and I think where this all really breaks is he needs to cover his tracks. So while they're at the funeral, he goes back to the crime scene where the medicine bag still is because the police didn't take it in, which we've talked about is bad. And he switches the labels back. And at this point in time, Fran sees him. So the way that she proceeds is she talks to her cousin who works at the place where they do the tox reports and gets a copy of the tox report. Now, that is very classified information.
Yeah.
Just so we're clear.
But also the way we figure it out
fired for this.
Because but we hear about this because she has a throwaway line of her saying that.
Right. So it's nice that they put that line in.
Yeah.
It's nice that they put that extra line in, but I'm not impressed with it yet. I'm glad that there was...
It was an attempt.
It's like, what's the worst thing you can do? Oh, we can just have her say, oh, by the way, she has a cousin that works there. Okay, that's the worst. What's the next best thing we can do? Oh, we can have her say sometime earlier, I have a cousin that works there. It's like, okay, that's better, but still not great. This makes me think that Rian Johnson may have redrafted one time, as opposed to 0 times.
Better than usual.
Right.
Better than usual.
Which is a new high for him, but geez, man, I don't like it. But anyway, so Fran gets this toxicology report and it reveals that there's nothing. Fran's only suspicion was that he was fidgeting with the medicines, but there's nothing on the toxicology report, so now she doesn't know. So she, at this point, has to assume that he screwed something up. So she decides to try to blackmail him, and that's when she so she sends him just the header as a threat. She has to assume that he screwed up. And she says, meet me at whatever location, the location at this time. So she's totally going out on a whim right now. She assumes that he screwed up the medication incorrectly because there's nothing on the toxicology report. If I were him, I would have just ignored this. Well, he should have, but he didn't know that there was nothing wrong.
That's what I would have said too. I would have ignored it too. Because if you ignore it, then she just goes, oh. Or, he could have pulled her aside and just gone like, hey, I got this letter. What the fuck is this all about? Lied to her.
Right. It's just very strange because he doesn't know that the toxicology report says nothing, but Fran does, and Fran still assumes that he did something.
And when he does arrive, she immediately goes like, oh, I knew you did it. It could also be him going like, hey, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, it's very strange. But instead he admits to it right away.
You could go somewhere and be like, yeah.
And then...
Which is also very... Because now you're just like, oh, aha, I knew it all along. You did know, and now you died.
Right, so he chloroforms her and injects her with the liquid and burns the toxicology report without reading it.
Right.
I guess. So, and then, sends the same letter to Marta. He did that right away, but for a different time in the email. And so that leads to, let's see. I want to make sure I got all this.
You're good.
Oh, so there's the Hugh did it, or Hugh did this line.
Yeah.
That's when Marta brings up, she wasn't saying you, she was saying you because you make the call,
Hugh.
the help call you Hugh because you're an asshole. And that line is so weird because we once again have no reason to think that he makes the help call him Hugh.
Because they never had an interaction.
Right. And also, if you're Fran right now, and you know that everyone calls him Ransom, you should probably be referring to him as Ransom.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Absolutely. It's very strange.
That's why
it's very strange.
We'll refer to my mom as her first name if I'm talking to, like, her friends or, like, my friends.
Yeah.
But anyway, so they go through everything else. Are there any other points in the reveal that you want to bring up?
I mean, we could talk about after the reveal where he goes like, yeah, you have all this, but nothing that proves it.
Right.
And then
he keeps saying that, not a lot of evidence. And then at the end, because, Fran's in the hospital, he says, yeah, I killed Fran, but I guess I didn't because she's still alive. And this was right after Marta gets a phone call from the hospital. And she responds like, oh, that's great news. And then she turns around and says, Fran's alive. So he says, yeah, I killed Fran, but I guess I didn't. So you've got nothing but attempted murder and arson. So what? I'll be in for a few years and then I'm good. And then...
Not even a few years. He said that he has the best lawyer, so he'll get out.
Right.
Which he doesn't anymore because...
Right, because now he doesn't have any inheritance. But he's like, I'll be out, and then I'll make your life hell, looking at Marta.
Yeah.
And that's when she throws up. And that's like the big reveal, where it's like, no, Fran really is dead, and you just admitted to killing her.
Yeah.
And like,
So even if it wasn't a murder to him, it was a murder to some other character we barely know.
Right. So it's like, okay. Not bad. Right? And then, like, they're going to arrest him. And then he's like, hang on, I just want to say this one thing. And, like, they just let him walk around. And
yeah, it's very weird.
Right. And then he tries to stab her. And it's with the prop knife. And we said earlier, Harlem says that he's so dumb he couldn't tell the difference between a real knife and a prop knife. So she doesn't get stabbed, and she, is fine. And then he gets arrested. So, like, this whole time I'm just thinking, arrest him, arrest him, arrest him. Why are you letting him walk around? This is bad. Arrest him.
Yeah. Especially in a room covered in knives, or in a room where a bunch of knives are just in one location.
Yeah. Pretty awful.
It's not hard to just murder everyone in that room. Although, then again, once you murder those people, then you're like, oh, okay, well now.
I don't think you'd be able to get to everyone, but geez, it would be easy to just kill her. If only, like, and it's just like such a contrivance, like, well, not a contrivance, but so weak. It's like Marta isn't alive right now because she did something good. She's alive right now because he just happened to pick the wrong knife. And it's not like prop knives are obviously prop knives. They're prop knives because they don't want to use a real knife, but they still want to trick an audience. So that line about him not knowing the difference between a prop and a real knife is weak.
I also would love it if, in fact, the reality that was actually supposed to be a real knife.
Right.
But, like, they accidentally used a prop knife on the set.
And they were like, oh, hey, that's a good reveal.
Yeah, like, she was supposed to die, and they were like, wait, yeah, that all planned.
Yeah. And then from there,
he gets arrested.
Right. Daniel Craig reveals
the letter comes back. Sorry, go ahead.
Daniel Craig reveals that he knew she was involved with the murder because of the blood spot on her shoe, which is like kind of tricky, but it's like, if you knew that she was involved, why are you risking her with all the evidence? And also, how do you know that that's from the murder and not just from literally anything else?
No, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but yeah, it's still nice. And then, like you said, the letter ties back to Jamie Lee Curtis and her husband in their plot.
It's like the only like actual finished character development we have. The other characters,
right? Harlem knew that her husband was cheating and wanted and said, "You're going to tell her, or I will," because I have it all written down in this letter. And then after he died, Jamie Lee Curtis's husband found the letter and it was blank, so he throws a baseball outside. Then later, Jamie Lee Curtis finds the baseball and she's holding it for most of the movie, and then she remembers where it belongs and she goes and puts it back, and that's when she finds the letter, and she sees it's blank, so she assumes it's the invisible ink, and she reveals it and reads the letter, and then like their development just kind of ends with them
Happy
staring
ending.
at each other. Yeah, good ending. No, that was
And
like
then the final
best
scene.
plot.
Yeah,
Oh, and then
that's the best plot. And then the final scene. You want to talk about this little funny? Pat, put this on screen as James reveals this.
Yeah, so I'll toss. Yeah, so she's like up on a balcony looking down on the family, and she's holding a cup that was in like the first scene of the movie that says "My house, my rules, my coffee," and it's very poorly edited because what must have happened is in the original shot with her standing up there with the mug, she must have had her fingers in such a way that they were underlining the "My house, my rules, my coffee." But I guess Rian Johnson decided that that was too on the nose because that's a decision that he might make every once in a while. So it's edited to have her fingers covering up the words instead, but it's done very poorly. And you can tell
you can clearly see
because like at the bottom her hand is clipping through the mug like in a really poor video game rendering. And
it's really funny.
It's pretty funny.
But then also at the last shot of the movie is her holding the coffee with her fingers underlining the words.
Right.
My
well,
house,
that's like
I cut my coffee.
That's like where they wanted the symbolism to be, but I guess they thought they would have been blowing their load too early if they had done it before. But
I guess
not super
just,
easy to
changed
see.
Her hand.
But I thought something was wrong the first time I watched it, and then the second time I made sure to pause, and I was like, "Oh no!" And it's like the disappearing knife in The Last Jedi, like just terrible editing. Like I don't know how this happens.
I also just realized we forgot to announce spoiler alert. So
spoilers for this movie in the review, by the way, guys.
But I think that's about it. I want to talk about the movie. So you want to give it a rating?
Oh man, like a 3. A 3.
3 what, James? Come on.
3 coffee cups.
I know it's been a while.
Each one saying "My house, my coffee, my rules."
Not even in the wrong order too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I give this
each of them in a different order.
2. Okay. I give this one 2 missed edits out of 10.
That works for me.
And a single bad car chase.
A single bad car chase on top. Yep.
So thank you guys. I know this is a bit of a rush. Thank you guys so much for joining us back on this podcast. It's been fun doing it again. And did we agreed on another episode, right?
Oh wait, what?
We agreed on what the next episode was going to be. We said in this review, didn't we?
I said we could do the Prestige. We watched a couple movies while we were together, so we could do one of those too if you wanted.
Well, that's the special for like our episode 10.
Okay.
Oh, wait, is next episode 10?
I don't know. We'll find out. I'll find out.
We'll find out, won't we?
Yep.
And one more thing before the episode ends. Thank you guys so much for 100 videos.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really happy. It's very exciting that I've been doing it for so long, and here's to a couple more years of this garbage.
A couple more years of what?
So listen, guys, of this quality.
Yes, of course. Good quality. No, congrats, 100 episodes or 100 videos on the channel. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Around the same time as my 8-year anniversary too. So
yeah.
Technically 10, but we don't talk about a certain.
That's all right.
So.
All
Bye.
right. Goodbye.